There's a key story about January 6th that's been, to a certain degree, hiding in plain sight all this time. And we're learning more about it in ways that I think suggest something new, a newer dimension to what happened on that day. It's the story of how tensions rose between Donald Trump, the president, and his vice president, Mike Pence, as Trump attempted to get Pence to do his bidding and overturn the election for him, effectively, unilaterally, and lawlessly. Now, we know the basic facts about the moment when Pence's refusal to comply and subvert the will of the voters came to a head. But the significance of that scene has taken a much darker tone as we've learned more details about it. So on the morning of January 6th, right, Trump made one last appeal to Pence at the huge rally at the Ellipse, although it sounded, frankly, more like a threat.
Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up for the good of our Constitution and for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now.
We then watched as the mob, at Trump's urging, marched to the Capitol, where they broke in and ransacked the building, assaulting police officers, roaming the halls, chanting, "Hang Mike Pence! Hang Mike Pence!" Some of them even erected a gallows with a noose outside of the building. And as the danger became apparent, the Secret Service evacuated the vice president from the Senate chamber, where he was presiding over the election certification proceedings as stipulated in the Constitution and American law. Now, we know, thanks to reporting from Washington Post journalists Carol Leonnig and Philip Rucker, that Pence first went to his ceremonial office at the Capitol, where he was protected by Secret Service agents, but vulnerable because the second floor office had windows, and those windows could be breached, and the intruding thugs had gained control of the building. Pence refused two requests from the agents in charge of his detail to evacuate the building, saying, quote, "I'm not leaving the Capitol." As Leonnig and Rucker write, the last thing the vice president wanted was the people attacking the Capitol to see his 20-car motorcade fleeing. That would only vindicate their insurrection. The third time the Secret Service asked, it was more of an order than a request. And they moved Pence down a staircase to a secure subterranean area where his armored limousine awaited. ABC News reporter Jonathan Karl described the scene there in that subterranean chamber as he saw it in official White House photos that Pence has not allowed to be published.
He was in a loading dock in an underground parking garage beneath the Capitol complex. No place to sit, no desk, no chairs, no nothing. He was in this concrete, parking garage, and with his family. And this is the vice president of the United States, and he's holed up in a basement. One of them is his chief of staff, Mark Short, showing him his phone, and it's the tweet of Trump saying Mike Pence didn't have the courage. This is the guy who fled the rioters, and Trump is saying he didn't have the courage. And you can see it kind of looks like Pence is grimacing, but you can never really tell.
Okay, now listen to Jamie Raskin, member of the January 6th committee, who's been investigating this for 9 months, describe what happened next.
So when his Secret Service agents, including one of them who was carrying the nuclear football with him, were chased out by these neo-fascists, and they ran down to some still undisclosed mysterious place in the Capitol, he uttered what I think are the 6 most chilling words of this entire thing I've seen so far. He said, "I'm not getting in that car."
That's the moment it all came down to, after all the pressure from Trump and his allies to get Mike Pence to do their bidding and keep Donald Trump in office. The insurrectionist mob had breached the building. The Secret Service hustles Pence down into the underground parking garage, and they want to take him away from the Capitol, but he refuses to go. Why does he refuse going? Well, Pence's own chief of staff, Mark Short, says the vice president did not want his evacuation to be the indelible image sent around the world.
He said, "I'm not leaving." And the reason he said he's not leaving is because he said he did not want our adversaries across the globe to see a 15-car motorcade flee in the Capitol. I think he exerted enormous leadership under enormous pressure. And I think he, again, despite efforts to have him evacuate, he's like, I don't want that visual for the world to see. I'm going to stay here.
Okay, so that's what Mark Short says, right? This is an image he doesn't want to project to the world, and so I'm going to stay here for symbolic purposes, essentially. But, Pence was not the only one who did not want to leave the Capitol complex that day, despite the terror unfolding. For example, Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego of Arizona described another immediate tactical reason for staying put.
I saw a bunch of buses pull up, and there were buses to evacuate us. And let me tell you, in coups, when you leave the Capitol, you've lost. And so I started texting every member I could in all of our text chains. I'm like, do not leave. Like, if they tell you to leave, like, do not leave. Like, you're safe for staying here. Like, we get on those buses, there's no guarantee we're ever coming back.
I've been thinking about that sentence for a long time. We get on those buses, there's no guarantee we're coming back. So that's Ruben Gallego's thought, right? A coup's happening. If the legislators leave, all bets are off. So occupying the physical space of the building, in Gallego's estimation, was actually key to repelling the coup. That's very different than the PR ramifications or the symbolic image of the motorcade. That's the darker interpretation of what was going on when Mike Pence refused to leave, right? That he wasn't just concerned about how the image of the vice president fleeing would look to the world. No, he was actually also concerned about maintaining control of the government, about the American constitutional order, that his role on January 6th was to preside over the peaceful transfer of power. And if the riotous mob, propelled by Donald Trump, succeeded in driving him physically away from the Capitol where he had that duty, he may not have been able to return to finish the job of overseeing the peaceful transfer of power. That would have allowed the coup to actually take place. And that interpretation, the far darker one, the more dangerous one, the wow, we came close one, that interpretation looks more and more likely as new facts come to light, particularly about the Secret Service's role on January 6th. So on Friday, new testimony released by the committee revealed that a senior Secret Service official warned Mark Meadows of potential violence ahead of January 6th. And Hugo Lowell of The Guardian is reporting that the committee appears to have been examining that official, named Anthony Ornato. A source tells Lowell that Trump gave Ornato a big White House job, Deputy White House Chief of Staff for Operations, in part because of his loyalty. Now, Ornato previously helped coordinate Trump's infamous march through Lafayette Square for a photo op with the Bible and assisted in planning of many Trump campaign rallies. On January 6th, he was overseeing Secret Service movements. Carol Leonnig and Philip Rucker report that while Pence was in that secure underground area of the Capitol, Ornato, told Pence's national security advisor, Keith Kellogg, that the vice president's security detail was planning to move him to Joint Base Andrews. And Kellogg replied, again, this is a reporting of Leonnig and Rucker, "You can't do that, Tony. Leave him where he's at. He's got a job to do. I know you guys too well. You'll fly him to Alaska if you have a chance. Don't do it." Well, I don't know. That sure sounds like it was a Trump loyalist in charge of Pence's security movements attempting to help Donald Trump effectuate his coup by removing the vice president from the building where he was to oversee the peaceful transfer of power. Congressman Jamie Raskin lays it out clearly.
The Secret Service agents, who presumably are reporting to Trump's Secret Service agents, were trying to spirit him off of the campus. And he said, "I'm not getting in that car until we count the Electoral College votes." He knew exactly what this inside coup they had planned for was going to do. This was not a coup directed at the president. It was a coup directed by the president against the vice president and against the Congress.
And so that's why Pence's 6 words in that moment, "I'm not getting in that car," were about so much more than just the image it would send to the world. It appears they were about the fundamental desire from the ex-president and his loyalists to, again, essentially in that moment, rupture the entire constitutional order in order to install Donald Trump by force against the will of the people.